This is a video to show you how to open a file and to navigate around in Minitab. When you open Minitab, you'll see there's sort of three distinct panes in this view. This one in the center here where it has the Minitab name and logo, that's the results pane. That's where you'll see the results of your analyses, the statistical output, graphs, charts, whatever you create in your analysis of data. Below that is the data pane. It looks like an Excel spreadsheet. You will be able to have multiple tabs across the bottom here, just like in Excel. So you're able to go from worksheet to worksheet to worksheet if you want to. And then over here on the left is the navigator window, the navigator pane. That'll allow you to navigate through the results that you generate when you're doing your analysis. At the top here, you can see there's the drop-down menus, file, edit, data, so forth. We'll spend a lot of time in the stat drop-down menu. We'll spend a lot of time looking at basic statistics. We'll get into regression, ANOVA, control charts. We'll get into using some quality tools. There's a lot of things that we won't do in here, but those are the basics. We will spend some time in the data dropdown, manipulating the data files to some extent. And of course, using the file dropdown to open, close, save things. So I'm going to open a file. This takes me into the OpEx data files, the files the publisher produces. And I'm going down to the courier process file. So you can see this opens up in the data pane. There's 4 columns. You can see that they're labeled parcel weight, location, business type, service used. What you'll notice is that the column headers, the fixed column headers, the C1, C2, those go across there. And then there's a sort of blank row. There's not a label for this row, but this is where your header, your data header labels will appear. The names of the measures and dimensions that you're using to analyze, those names will appear here. You'll also notice that when I open this file, or before I open the file, it said C1, C2, C3, C4. Now it says C2-T, C3-T, C4-T. What that means is that when I open the file, Minitab recognized these 3 columns as having text in the cells. So it's flagging them as text. It's going to treat them as text. This column with these numbers, these parcel weights, Minitab recognizes as being numeric. You may also see if you have date and time data, if Minitab recognizes that in date as date and time, it'll label that with a D. So it might say C5-D. There's no date and time data in this file, but I just wanted to point out that Minitab is making some assumptions about what it recognizes in your data fields. So just to open it up and manipulate a little bit, I'm going to do a quick descriptive statistics. So I'm going to stat, basic statistics, display descriptive statistics. And what you see here is that it only shows me column C1, the parcel weights. So the kind of descriptive statistics I'm going to be doing are based on numeric data. So it's looking at averages, medians, that kind of thing. There is no average or median you can do on text. So because of the nature of the analysis Minitab is going to do, it recognizes that only column C1 has valid data that can be used. So to select parcel weights, I can type the column C1 in there, or I can double click on it. And so that pops it over under the variables box. You may have noticed that when I click down into the by variables, now it shows me all 4 columns. And we'll get to what the by variables means in a moment, but just We're going to do a quick descriptive statistics analysis on parcel weights. So select this parcel weights, and click on OK. And it does some analysis by default. It tells me what variable it's looking at. The N tells me how many rows of data there are. The N asterisk tells me how many blank rows there are. Minitab has calculated the mean, something called the standard error of the mean, which we'll talk about later. The standard deviation of parcel weights, the minimum value in that column, first quartile. So if all these values were arranged in order, there are 100 values. 1/4 of them would be the first 25. And that 25th value is 3.1875, or it's the average of the two values, the border, the first and second quartile. The median, that's the midpoint. There's 100 values in this data set. So the median will be the average of the two middle ones. Since it's an even number, there's not a middle value to select, so it's the average of the middle two. Third quartile, that's counting 75% of the way into the data file and identifying what that threshold is, 4.0825. And then the maximum value, that's the highest value in this data set. If I click on this button right here, this is the Edit Last Dialog button. It brings up the last thing Minitab did. So rather than go to Stat, Basic Statistics, Display Descriptive, since I want to do Descriptive Statistics again, I can just click this button here. So it brings it up again. If I click, and you can see, remember that I had parcel weights selected. I click on Statistics. These are the statistics that by default Minitab is going to show you, but you can turn them off and on. We don't need to see standard error of the mean. I know that there are no missing values, so we don't need to see the N missing. Let's say I do want to see the range. Yeah, it's good enough. Click on OK. Click on OK again. And you see now it gives me the values for those tests, and you see it added the range. So the difference from the largest value and the smallest value is 3.35. You can see over here now, I've got two things in my navigator. This one is the first descriptive statistics analysis I did. This is the second one. And I can change the names. So if I want to say, this is the one that includes the range. Now this label up here adds that. So that can be helpful as you do tests with maybe different options selected. You can change those labels so you know which one you're looking at. If you decide that there was one you didn't need, you can right click on it and delete it. So you can keep your results, you can delete out results you don't need, you can rename the label that Minitab gives those results. I'm going to go back and edit last dialog again, just to show you, again, these two options. So there's the variable that we're calculating those statistics on, the parcel weight, and then there's the by variables. By variables are going to be variables that you use to group your data. So the statistics I'm calculating on parcel weight include, let's say, just the average parcel weight. If I want to know what the average parcel weight is by business type, I can select business type in to this by variables box. That's essentially the dimension that it's segmenting the data by. Click on statistics again. I'm going to go ahead and leave these. Click on OK. So now it shows me the parcel weight for commercial business and for residential business. There's 50 of each, but I can see the mean is different, the standard deviation is different. You can see all these different statistics are different for commercial business versus the residential business. So I'm going to rename this by business. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. Let's say I'm done. I'm going to file file. I'm going to save this project. Now, you have options to save project, or you can also you will sometimes have the option to save just a worksheet. What I want to do is I want to save the whole project. By saving the project, I am saving not only the data, but all the results that I've created. So I'm going to save project as, and I'm going to call this courier process. I'm going to put date on it. And now you can see it's saved. That's got this extension MPX indicating it's a Minitab project file. All right, and that's it. Thanks very much.